We are somewhere on the training ground in Giżycko at the Enduro Rally 24.
We have arrived at the Świętno training ground, a vast and important military facility known for its extensive training exercises. Unfortunately, our arrival has been significantly delayed by an hour and a half, primarily due to unforeseen technical issues with the navigation application we were relying on. This considerable delay means that our return journey will inevitably extend well into the late hours of the night, making for a very long and arduous day.
Yeah, next time. How much does a roadbook roll cost? Is the road included or are they?
I don't know if they're expensive, but a road book like that, I think it is very much so. It would be cool to have a teaser, you know, a teaser would be great. Philip, can you show how many are waiting there? What do you say?
I'm missing one level. Oh damn! But I've got zip ties, power tape, I hope that'll help.
I'm taping it up because it's cool. I'm not a fan of riding heavy enduro bikes off-road. The field was light, but it wasn't bad.
Did you get lost?
No, not even once. I think if I made it here, then I guess not. Hi, Tomek.
Hi Tomek.
Do you remember how I told you yesterday that you really have to try hard to break the levers? And I wasn't even trying. We're supposedly doing the 12-hour ride, but it feels like we're doing 24 because we're coming back home at night somehow. Good morning. Day 2 of Enduro Rally 24. We only finished the first stage recently because we got back to base at 11 PM. We ended up a bit delayed due to an up arrow, and just as we started the first stage, that's how it was supposed to end according to the plan. But it was nice. We rode 2 stages at night. On one of them I got completely lost. I had no idea where to go. On the other we had the ravine, lots of mud, pulling out the bikes, and we finished here an hour and a half late. We closed out the field, but it was pleasant. No one was watching the clock. There's no tension here or fighting for the golden underpants, which I really like.
It doesn't have to look good, it just has to be functional. And that's exactly the case here. The lever is from Nievo's crew. He's over there on the Varadero. If I don't break it today, I'll try to give it back. Very nice. Now it moves freely, see? I hope that if I hit it this time, it moves. And that's what it's all about.
We are heading to the first special stage of the second day, which I can't remember the name of. Świętno, I think. Świętno training ground. Exactly. Today is much better because there's no delay at the start. Plus, now we know we have to think. I think we've got that part covered, so to speak. 20% of the plan is done. If I keep going to these rallies for another 3 to 4 years, maybe things will move forward. Yes, it was an experience that transcended mere pleasantness. It was, in every conceivable aspect, absolutely wonderful. The sheer joy and profound satisfaction that permeated every moment were truly remarkable. From the very beginning, an atmosphere of unparalleled delight enveloped us, creating memories that will undoubtedly endure for a lifetime. The meticulous attention to detail, the seamless execution of every planned activity, and the genuine warmth extended by everyone involved contributed to an overwhelmingly positive and deeply enriching experience. It wasn't just good, and the overall unforgettable occasion. Every element seemed to align perfectly, culminating in a feeling of pure bliss and contentment. The positive energy was palpable and the sense of wonder was constant. It was an event that stimulated the senses, uplifted the spirit, and left an indelible mark of happiness. The memories forged during this time are not just fleeting impressions, but deeply ingrained recollections of a truly magnificent and absolutely wonderful period. The entire experience was a symphony of positive emotions, a masterclass in creating an environment of pure joy, profound satisfaction. It was, without a shadow of a doubt, an absolutely wonderful and truly extraordinary time that exceeded all expectations and left us with a lasting sense of gratitude and immense pleasure. If someone says this motorcycle has no suspension and that these tires aren't suitable for off-road, it just means they don't know how to ride.
But it was fun.
Twice I got stuck with the anchors, though, you know that ship, the Costa Concordia. Once I did it in the sand. I wanted to make a spectacular climb, but I got stuck and just stood there like that. And I still maintain that the motorcycle with an S, meaning a street version, is not stripped of off-road capabilities. And the route? It was a dream. A motorcycle like this in Poland, as long as you don't hit some really deep loose sand, it's all those tank tracks, ruts you just get into a rhythm. It's cool. Similar, what's up?
It's intense. Once again, we're closing out the event. I guess it's becoming a tradition that we're always the last ones. But I blame it on the fact that we're also making content about the motorcycles along the way. We've got 4 bikes. Tomek has probably already mentioned them: CRF450L, SWM 300, the Tenere 700, and the KTM 790 Adventure in its basic version. And my conclusions, since I was switching between these bigger bikes, are that the KTM with a good tire is just as fast, this base model, as the Tenere on those stock bolt tires, which is pretty interesting. It does lack a bit of ground clearance and suspension for this kind of terrain. It just bottoms out. In those heavy and narrow sections, it gets sucked in. The Tenere is super narrow, and with my weight, the suspension is perfect. It's missing good tires because these are the standard Pirelli SLRs and they can't handle sand, but as you can see in the choir, they're very rally oriented already like that. And just to wrap up my conclusion, since there were a lot of questions here about the Tenere is a superb off-road motorcycle. I wouldn't compare it to anything else currently on the market. It's a completely different machine. Just like back in the day, the Africa Twin with the triple revolutionized things a few years ago. Overall, in the adventure segment, the Tenere is once again creating a new niche, because it's an affordable, highly off-road capable, and in my opinion, bulletproof motorcycle. And the 790 Adventure is simply a motorcycle. It's more somewhere between a dual sport and an adventure bike, exactly, which will definitely handle off-road better. Has better wind protection, a more comfortable riding position, more features, traction control and so on. So if I were to buy one, the price difference is so big that it's really hard to even compare them.
That's true. I'll just change a couple of small things on the trainer. Overall, the way you ride the trainer is very similar to a dual sport, a sporty enduro.
Something like a KTM 690 with a fairing.
Yeah, a more civilized dual sport where you can actually attach some panniers, take a backpack, and you ride wherever you want, and basically on whatever terrain you want. The 790 will definitely be better, more comfortable on asphalt. In this version, well, it's too low though, right? But it handles really nicely and is more comfortable, more like a cruiser.
But you know, another thing is that the 790 in this base version, for people who ride off-road only occasionally, man, what a world, people. What a world, people. Because it's just ultra versatile.
As long as there were no jumps, landings or drops, once I got into the rhythm, it was almost like riding enduro, just flying along between my legs. This motorcycle was working. First of all, what's fantastic about this motorcycle is that you have something to grab onto. Granted, the wings stick out a lot and you can get caught on them, but on the other hand, it's a compromise. The thing is, you have something to grip with your legs and you can really feel the bike nicely.
But when it comes to the rest of the brake, it really lowers itself to that heaviness because, yeah, and that's great. It's actually super interesting that this bike, once it tips over, it seems like it's a light, narrow motorcycle and so on. But it's not that easy to lift it up. The center of gravity is high and you really have to put in a lot of effort to lift it. But with the 790, because the tanks are low, and I think, at least it seems to me, that the twin-cylinder engine is positioned a bit more forward. I had this strange association kind of like with the GS. Yeah, just like with the GS. when it tips over onto the cylinders, right? One thing came to my mind. And now, guys, tell me, how was your debut? Excuse me. No, here you are. 2 motorcycles for 2 guys, let's say, definitely beginners in these kinds of rallies.
So far, everything checks out.
Tomek had some kind of episode, an Enduro Cross one, right?
Me? When I was 13 or 14.
Yes. Philip on a tandem bike. Do you want a moped someday?
I used to ride a moped,
Yeah, but that was a long time ago.
yeah, a few years back.
All right, let's talk about motorcycles quickly.
Maybe I'll start. Because honestly, I've never really ridden, basically never, 16 years ago I could say never off-road motorcycle. What I can say about the Honda is that if I had to choose a motorcycle to ride to a place where I want to mess around a bit, it's perfect. Because it handles really nicely. Even on asphalt, it reaches a decent speed and rides quite well. The SWM, on the other hand, is great once you actually get into some off-road terrain, but to get there, I'd probably load it onto a trailer. It's not really a motorcycle you can use to travel between these OS sections here. It's just a hassle. However, once you actually off-road, in my opinion, it performs much more pleasantly than the Honda. Film. And what do you think about it?
Well, I was very skeptical about the SWM at first, but after the first rides, in my opinion, it's great, a fantastic machine to ride. I had a really good time riding it, but at some point Tomek and I swapped motorcycles and I rode the Honda. I also enjoyed riding it earlier, so I think it's a really nice motorcycle to ride. The main idea behind our motorcycles was that we carry photographic equipment in our backpacks, so we need bikes so that it's safe, not to set ourselves challenges on the route. So for the kind of trails we have here, an Enduro 450 or 300 is the perfect machine, just weaving between trees, climbing hills, riding through centers. No better motorcycle. In places where you had to stop between the trees.
The SWM and the Honda went through without any problem. Great, and I'd just like to elaborate on one thing, to clarify. Which bike costs how much, starting from the most expensive, and actually they're lined up here just as they should be. Almost the most expensive is the KTM. Its price will be displayed here. Next is the Honda, which costs 44.
46?
I don't know, we'll add the captions in post-production. Next is the Tenere, which costs 40,990 zlotys. At least that's how much it cost at the dealership where I picked up the bike. And then there's the SWM, which costs 26,000 zlotys. And to be honest, at its core, it's just a typical adventure bike from 10 years ago.
First of all, these kinds of amateur rallies are truly great, and these navigation-based rallies are absolutely awesome events.
The fact that you're looking at the map just adds to the whole experience.
Yes, navigation is fantastic, and enduro type rallies like Rail 24 are great. Another thing is, you don't need to have a super fancy ride. We had an adventure bike in its basic configuration, which in the road version. Theoretically, it's a road bike, but with a good tire, it handled the RK700 without any problems. We were riding at almost exactly the same pace, so you really don't need a fancy ride. And the third thing I wanted to mention is that you don't even have to ride off-road to take part in such a rally, because after all, Tomek Parsikowski, who is now bravely holding the lighting for us, rode it on a CRF450L, and no matter how you look at it, finished the rally. I think we should start packing the van, because you guys still have a long way to go, especially since you have to give me a ride home. A comparison of all these motorcycles in different configurations will appear in one of the issues of Schwat Motorcycling.
I don't know, but it will appear.
In text form, and I truly think it will also appear in video form, because, well, why are we shooting it right now?
It has already appeared even.
Exactly. Well, that's all you can invite to buying the numbers that will be our heroes, or rather, how much do I have? High five, bye.
Thanks.
Room.